also have now Hank Lundy in, and he'll be here for the last 2 weeks of the sparring. And Lundy is a guy that's bringing speed, quickness, power, and an attitude. He's bringing an attitude every time they spar. He's saying things to Shawn, popping off at Shawn, and if Shawn lands a good punch on him, he's coming right back at Shawn. Hank is a little bit bigger than he normally is, and I'm glad. I'm trying to keep him heavy. He walked in here heavy, and in the first workout, first 24 hours, he lost 6 pounds. So I'm like, come on, Hank, we got to keep this weight up, because I need him to stay heavy for Shawn. And we've been using Mickey Bay on the back end of our sparring session. So if we go 10 rounds, we'll use Mickey in that last 2. He's a lighter guy. He's only about 147, walking around, fighting at like 130, 135. So it's working out pretty good from that standpoint. We're just looking to push him really hard in these last couple of, well, next week being peak week, really push him hard then.
Are you satisfied if you guys don't get a stop? Are you okay with that?
We're never satisfied about anything. My thing is, more than anything else, for him to do the things that we're asking him to do, the things that we practiced on, the things that we worked on to get him to this point and put all that together, because you want to see that come together so that you can take that to the next fight. You can take that to the next camp instead of starting all over and restarting, which becomes a big problem when you're inactive for a year. That becomes a big problem. But it's coming together, and we're liking what we're seeing. So, never satisfied, but I would like to see him outbox him, outpunch him, out-hustle him, and then I would like to see him punish him. That would be the ultimate scenario, that you do all these things that we worked on and then you punish him, you know. And if he's able to withstand what he's doing, then, you know, he's still a great fighter. If he's not able to withstand it, that doesn't mean he's not a great fighter. That just means that that night Shawn was greater. But all of those things together would be what we're looking for, because we want to carry that into that next fight, you know, and we want to force the powers that be to put us back in the ring sooner than later. We don't want to wait a year. You know, this is a title eliminator, but I don't want to wait a whole nother year to get a conversation with fighting the guy about a belt that we should be already rematching for. Because to say the least, you know, the fight between Thurman and Danny Garcia, the first night I was asked about it, I said it underwhelmed. And then Sunday when reporters called me, I said it was lackluster. And then Monday when the reporters were calling me, I said, okay, we're going to do the rematch with Keith Thurman and Danny Garcia, but it's pay-per-view. Are you going to buy it? So nobody wanted to buy. So come on, put the fights together that people want to see, even if it's the one you don't want to see, which we know he don't want to see that, because 24 hours, 48 hours before that fight, they made us sign a no rematch clause, and we weren't getting a rematch. You know, so
he wasn't getting a rematch for.
Yeah, no, we weren't getting a rematch. So, you know, this is what it takes to get back in there. Let's do it, but we don't want to have to wait a whole another year to get back in there. You know what I mean?
So going back to the Garcia fight, when you sat back and watched the fight, because you guys wanted Danny for a while, and Danny seemed like he was avoiding. You kind of see why he was avoiding you, the way you fought Keith. You think that?
Well, I've always known that, and it wasn't that we wanted Danny, like we were coming after Danny's type situation. What it was he downplayed Shawn's abilities and skills and so on and so forth. And I said, oh, okay, somebody's downplaying us. Maybe he'll take this fight because he says we're not that good. So I looked at that as an opportunity. I'm looking at that really as an opportunity to get this fight. So we flew to New York, and we said, hey, Danny, we're here. And then the next interview was like, why are they picking on me? I just got up to this weight class, and why are they saying things, you know, and it's not anyone picking on anyone. These guys, Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman, Shawn Porter, Andre Berto, they need to fight each other to make each other great, you know, and like right there on their heels is Errol Spence. He's right there, you know what I mean? And he goes over to England, he handles his business, he's in the mix right then, you know what I mean? Shawn Porter cannot underestimate his opponent, and I will not allow him to do that. So we're training for a guy that's 6'6" and weighs 1,000 pounds. We're not training for, you know, Andre Berto that may or may not be the guy that used to be. No, I don't look at that. I never even look at what a guy can't do. I look at what he can do, because those are the things we got to be concerned with.
Those are things you have to train for.
Yeah, those are things you train for. Those are things you have to work for.
So ultimately, is this kind of like an audition in a sense, because you want to put on that performance that you get
forces them,
yeah,
forces them to forces their hand. You know, yeah, you can look at it that way as well. But you know, as if it wasn't for a few moments in that fight, we get the decision. I go back and I look at it, and I am truly his hardest critic. And I go back and I look at it, and I said, you know what? When the reporter came to me and he said, and this was one of the guys that was calling the fight, sitting ringside, calling the fight for the television. And he says, oh, it was a great fight, Ken. I said, yeah, it was great. Well, what did you think? I said, he got the decision. Yeah, but it was a great fight, you know. So what did you think? I said, okay, think of it from my perspective. I said, put me in Keith Thurman's corner. Let me send Keith Thurman on a search and destroy mission. And Keith Thurman out-jab Shawn Porter, like 50-something jabs to 20. And Keith Thurman keeps Shawn Porter on the ropes all night and beats him to the body all night long. We're not having this conversation. We're not. Think about that for a second. There would have been no dispute if Keith had did that to us all night long. There wouldn't have been a crowd saying, and the new. That's what they were cheering before they made the announcement. They were saying, and the new. They would not have been booing Keith if he had did to us what we did to him. So people can dispute and say whatever they want to say, however they want to say it. Let's just do it again.
A lot of fans and a lot of people in the boxing world feel that.
Yeah, let's just do it again. Let's just do it again. You know.
So at the last minute, they came up with the no rematch clause.
Yeah, absolutely they did. Yeah, absolutely. And what can you do? And what can you do? This is, you know, this isn't the NFL. This isn't the NBA. This isn't Major League Baseball. There's no Players Association. There's no insurance. There's no union. There's nothing. What can you do? I guess I got to sign this if I want to get paid to fight. And if I don't sign this and I beat the guy, then I'm definitely not getting anything out of the deal. So your back is against the wall. So what can you do?
With all these top names, top fighters, Shawn has fought and beaten. Why do you think they still kind of put him on the back seat sometimes and not give him?
You know what? I'm gonna just keep it real. If the kid was more outlandish, if he talked more, if he did some crazy things, if he, you know, walked around with more bling bling and had an entourage and things like that, his Twitter and his IG and all that kind of stuff would really, really be popping crazy, and he would get more asses in the seats. That's just keeping it real. And the people really enjoy that, and so that's what sells. And he's not that person.
So you feel like
I've tried to get him to, I've tried to get him to speak a little bit more, but he's just not that person. It's not, you know. Now, we beat Adrian Bronner, right? We beat Adrian Bronner, whatever his name. Okay, we beat Adrian, AB, you know. We beat him, right?
Right.
And they could have just as easily called us and said, okay, Shawn Porter's going to be fighting for the WBC welterweight championship against whoever that might be. And nobody in boxing or the public would have said, no, he don't deserve that, because we just beat AB. So nobody would have said it, right?
Right.
Nobody at all. But we get overlooked, and you give it to Danny Garcia, who had never even fought at 147 pounds at that point in time, right? And you give it to Danny. Now we have to sit around for a whole year before we get a fight, you know, and we take on Keith Thurman, and it worked out the way it worked. But my point I'm making here is, if he had been AB or making that kind of noise, or AB had won that fight, AB would have been in that welterweight championship fight. How do I know that? Because probably less than, was it 3 months? AB was in a world championship fight after he lost to us. After he lost to us. So it's about dollars making sense for them at that point. It's not about who's deserving, who won, who beat who. You know what I mean? And arguably at that time, we beat one of the hottest fighters. You know,
One of the hottest fighters.
you know, yeah.
That's why I asked, why do they keep overlooking? So it's pretty much politics.
Yeah,
And money.
it can always, you always follow the money.